The soft glow of the monitor was the only light in Xiao Zhan's hospital room, painting his recovering face in gentle hues. The hum of the life support machines had lessened, replaced by the faint, steady rhythm of his own breathing. He was awake now, lucid, though still fragile. Wang Yibo sat beside him, the silence between them filled with months of unspoken grief, regret, and a burgeoning, unfamiliar hope. He had brought Yizhan the new resonance key, a silent offering of his transformed self, the promise of a chimera built with both logic and unconditional love. The door creaked open, and a figure stepped inside. Sukai. He was a familiar presence, a close friend from Yizhan's earliest days in the industry, often seen as a protective shadow. Sukai moved with a quiet efficiency, his eyes immediately going to Yizhan, a profound relief washing over his usually stoic features. He took a seat on the other side of the bed, a silent sentinel. Yizhan's gaze, which had been distant, now focused on Sukai. A new wave of emotion, raw and unbidden, welled in his eyes. It was clear to Yibo, observing with his newly attuned senses, that this was a deeper, more personal wellspring of feeling than anything Yizhan had displayed, even on stage. This was a private storm, distinct from the grand barred storm that had almost consumed him. Kaiji, Yizhan whispered, his voice still a little hoarse, but laced with an overwhelming tenderness. Tears began to track paths down his temples, not the chaotic tears of overload, but slow, deliberate, intensely personal drops. You stayed. Sukai reached out, his hand gently covering Yizhan's, a silent acknowledgement. Always. After everything, Yizhan continued, his voice cracking. When I felt like I was drowning, when I thought I was gone, I kept hearing it. His eyes, shimmering with tears, fixed on Sukai's. That night after the Nightless City scene, when I was so broken, you sat with me. You didn't say anything, but you just played that song over and over. That lullaby. Yibo froze. A lullaby? He had never heard of this. His mind, the precise architect, began to search his vast internal archives for any data, any anecdotal evidence of a lullaby connected to Yizhan. Nothing. This was a deep, hidden layer of Yizhan's emotional landscape that he had never even glimpsed. Yizhan's hand tightened on Sukai's. I thought I was alone in the dark. But then, in the coma, in that empty space, your voice, your presence, it was the only thing that felt real. It was the anchor. Not Yibo's technical anchor, he clarified, a soft, almost imperceptible glance towards Yibo, but your emotional anchor. It pulled me back. That song, it was the promise I held on to. Sukai's eyes, usually so guarded, welled up, a single tear escaping and tracing a path down his cheek. He simply squeezed Yizhan's hand, unable to speak, his own profound emotion radiating outward. It was a silent, powerful acknowledgement of a shared history, of a bond that went far beyond public perception. Wang Yibo stood by the bedside, his very breath caught in his throat. His entire body, usually so poised, so perfectly balanced, felt suddenly clumsy, rooted to the spot. His mind, trained to process torrents of data, was utterly, profoundly speechless. He had built a sophisticated, technological anchor, a precise algorithm of a shared memory, to pull Yizhan back from the brink. He had poured his logical genius, his reformed empathy, into that digital lifeline. But Yizhan was saying that someone else, a simple human connection, had been there first, had been the true anchor. The scene was mind-blowing in its utter simplicity. It wasn't a complex, synaptic loom projection, not a grand show of empathic projection. It was a quiet, tearful confession of human vulnerability and profound, loyal friendship. It was the deepest layer of Yizhan's emotional architecture, a hidden chamber of his heart that Yibo, the architect of cold data, had never known existed. He had studied Yizhan's emotional output as data, as a storm to be understood and contained. He had meticulously crafted a logical anchor for Yizhan's recovery, but he had never imagined a quiet, personal song, a silent, comforting presence, could be more powerful than all his technology. The full weight of his past arrogance, his logical blind spots, crashed down on him. He had believed his way was the only way, that quantifiable data held all the answers. He had understood Zhan's power, but he had failed to understand Zhan the person, the depths of his connections, the intricate, illogical web of his emotional world. He had tried to control the bard's storm, but he hadn't known the quiet lullaby that could calm it. He looked at Su Kai, a man he had always viewed as just Zhan's friend. Now, he saw not a peripheral figure, but a profound, essential pillar in Zhan's life, a testament to a different kind of strength, a different kind of connection, a strength that transcended algorithms and data. Wang Yibo felt the tears welling in his own eyes again, not tears of despair or frustration, but tears of humility, of overwhelming awe, and of a dawning, profound understanding. He had learned about love from his baby. Now, he was learning about the true, unquantifiable depth of human connection from Xiao Zhan, from Su Kai, from a simple lullaby. He, the man who could make universes from thought, was speechless, humbled by the quiet power of a human heart. It was a moment that redefined everything, leaving him utterly, beautifully, mind-blowingly undone. Wang Yibo stood just outside Xiao Zhan's hospital room. The profound revelation of the last hour await that left him physically and emotionally stunned. His tears had dried, but the shock of a mind-blowing truth had settled into his soul. Su Kai, not his meticulously crafted digital anchor, had been the true force that had saved Zhan. The architect's blueprint, his logical genius, had been a secondary, pale imitation of a simple human heart. He, who had always believed in the supremacy of his methods, now found himself humbled by a quiet lullaby he hadn't even known existed. He left the hospital, the cold air outside a stark contrast to the burning confusion in his mind. He went to his studio, to the synaptic loom, the place that had once been his sanctuary. The new organic chimera blueprint, the one he had built with a newfound sense of empathy, now felt incomplete. He had created a system to embrace Zhan's emotions, but he had failed to account for the emotional landscape that existed independently of him. He had designed a world for two, forgetting that Zhan's world was vast, interconnected, and filled with a profound history that had nothing to do with him. He began to work, not with the cold, deliberate precision of the architect, but with the fumbling, uncertain motions of a man trying to understand a new language. He tried to visualize the lullaby, the mind-blowing, quiet power that had anchored Zhan's soul. He didn't have data. He didn't have an algorithm. All he had was Zhan's tearful message and the profound emotion he had witnessed. He used the loom not to create, but to interpret. He closed his eyes and began to move, his synaptic choreography now a clumsy, imperfect dance of pure, unanalyzed feeling. He let his body, not his mind, guide the process. The loom's holographic space filled with light, not with a precise blueprint, but with a swirling, soft glow. It was a digital representation of the sound, of the emotion of the lullaby. It was not perfect, it was not symmetrical. It was a chaotic, beautiful nebula of quiet comfort, a mind-blowing visualization of a human memory that transcended all logic. This was his act of humility, a silent confession that he no longer held all the answers. He took the new chimera blueprint, and with a hesitant hand, placed this luminous, chaotic sphere at its core, as its new heart. It was a testament to his new understanding. That true strength lay not in control, but in the willingness to embrace the illogical, beautiful reality of a shared human world. He returned to the hospital, his mind now clear, his heart filled not with pride, but with a quiet, profound respect. He found Su Kai alone in the hallway, staring out a window, a thoughtful, weary expression on his face. Yibo walked up to him, his usual composure replaced by a hesitant, vulnerable sincerity. "Su Kai," he began, his voice low, uncharacteristically unsure. I needed to say something." Su Kai turned, his eyes holding a mixture of relief and guarded expectation. Yibo took a deep breath. "Zhan Ji told me about the lullaby, About the anchor. He said the word anchor, not with the pride of a creator, but with the reverence of a student. I built a digital tether for his mind, a logical anchor based on shared memory. But you were there first. You were the emotional anchor. You were the real one. Sukai simply nodded, his eyes softening. There was no triumph in his gaze, only a deep, human understanding. He needed both, he said quietly, your logic and a heart. He smiled, a genuine, profound smile that transformed his stoic face. He knew he would come back, but he needed a reason to wait, to be strong enough to wait. In that moment, a new, mind-blowing truth hit Yibo with the force of a physical blow. Their relationship was not a simple triangle of rivalry. It was a complex, beautiful tapestry. Sukai was not a rival. He was a silent partner, a fellow guardian of the man they both cared for. He was the yin to Yibo's new, more balanced yang, a parallel force of human connection that Yibo now, finally, understood. Armed with this newfound understanding, Yibo entered Zhan's room. The light from the monitor was the only sound. He sat beside the bed, took Zhan's hand, and with a new resonance key, he activated his lumina. He didn't project anything for the whole world to see. He projected something for just one person. The ceiling above Zhan's bed filled with a soft, holographic image. It was the new chimera blueprint, but at its heart, glowing softly, was the digital representation of Sukai's lullaby. It was chaotic, beautiful, and utterly illogical. It was a testament to his new understanding of love and collaboration. Zhan's eyes, which had been closed, fluttered open. He looked up, his gaze taking in the new, organic chimera blueprint, its fluid lines, its resilient design. His eyes were wide with wonder. Then they found the glowing, chaotic heart of the projection. The lullaby, and a single, perfect tear traced a path down his cheek. He looked at Yibo, and in that gaze was a silent, mind-blowing understanding. He saw the humility, the love, and the profound wisdom that had transformed his partner. Their hands, intertwined, held the resonance key between them. As their fingers touched, the resonance key on Yibo's finger lit up with a new, stable, and profoundly balanced glow. The chimera was not just a project anymore. It was their rebuilt relationship, a living, breathing testament to a love that had to be shattered and remade to finally become a true, symbiotic force. The architect had found his heart, and the bard had finally come home.